In 1964, Oldsmobile introduced the Jetstar 1, a car that would have been a game-changer in the American automotive scene if it hadn't been so easily overlooked. The Jetstar 1 was ahead of its time, blending sleek design with raw power in a way that few cars could match. But despite all its potential, it failed to capture the attention it truly deserved. Why? How did a car so beautiful and powerful get lost in the shadows of more popular models? To understand why the Jetstar 1 was such a masterpiece, let's first look at what it represented. Oldsmobile, a brand known for innovation, had already made its mark on the automotive world. By 1964, they were a solid player in the GM family, producing cars that were stylish, affordable, and packed with power. The Jetstar 1 was an embodiment of all that Oldsmobile stood for. But, as great as it was, it didn't get the recognition it deserved. One of the first things that set the Jetstar 1 apart from other cars in its class was its design. While other cars from the era like the Chevrolet Impala or the Ford Thunderbird were dominating the streets, the Jetstar 1 was understated yet elegant. It featured a sleek, streamlined body with gentle curves that hinted at the future of automotive design. Its long, low profile and hidden headlights made it stand out, even if people didn't always realize it at the time. Underneath the hood, the Jetstar 1 packed a punch. Powered by Oldsmobile's 394 cubic inch V8 engine, it offered performance that could easily hold its own against more famous muscle cars of the time. But while cars like the Pontiac GTO were grabbing headlines, the Jetstar 1 quietly delivered its own brand of power, blending strength with sophistication. It wasn't just a muscle car. It was a luxury performance vehicle with a smooth ride and high-end features that set it apart from its competitors. Yet, for all its beauty and power, the Jetstar 1 was never a commercial success. It was overshadowed by more popular cars from the GM lineup, like the Chevrolet Malibu and the Pontiac GTO, both of which were marketed aggressively. While the GTO's marketing machine made it the face of the muscle car revolution, the Jetstar 1 was left to quietly fade into obscurity. Its relatively limited production numbers, only about 5,000 were made, meant that fewer people had a chance to experience it, and even fewer knew what they were missing out on. So why was the Jetstar 1 overlooked? The answer lies in a combination of factors. While it was an excellent car, it was caught in the middle of two competing trends: the muscle car revolution and the rising demand for luxury vehicles. The Jetstar 1 wasn't extreme enough to be considered a true muscle car, nor was it luxurious enough to compete with Cadillac's higher-end offerings. As a result, it didn't fit neatly into any category, which made it harder for consumers to understand where it belonged. Despite this, the Jetstar 1 remains a hidden gem, one of the cars that history almost forgot, but that deserves far more attention for its innovative design and powerful performance. It's the kind of car that makes you wonder how many other overlooked vehicles there are in automotive history, waiting to be rediscovered. When you talk about a muscle car, performance is everything. And while the 1964 Oldsmobile Jetstar 1 might not have grabbed the same headlines as its more famous counterparts, it packed a serious punch under the hood. The true genius of the Jetstar 1 lay in how it combined power with luxury, making it not just a car for the road, but a car that defined an era. At the core of the Jetstar 1 was Oldsmobile's 394 cubic inch V8 engine. This engine was a work of art in its own right, delivering 330 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. It wasn't just about numbers on a spec sheet. It was about the feeling you got when you stepped on the accelerator. The Jetstar 1 was fast, but it wasn't a rough, grating ride. It offered a smooth, powerful driving experience that was rare in muscle cars at the time. The performance of the Jetstar 1 didn't just come from raw power. It was about how Oldsmobile fine-tuned the entire car for driving pleasure. The V8 engine was paired with a well-balanced suspension system, ensuring that the car not only accelerated with power, but handled corners and straightaways with ease. Unlike some of the more aggressive muscle cars, which could sometimes feel a little too raw for daily driving, the Jetstar 1 offered an almost refined feel, making it a car that you could drive every day and still have fun with. But the Jetstar 1 wasn't just a one-trick pony. Oldsmobile wanted to create a car that had both power and elegance. In addition to its muscle car performance, the Jetstar 1 featured a luxurious interior that made it feel more like a high-end sedan than a typical muscle car. The seats were spacious and comfortable, with soft vinyl upholstery and a dashboard that was both sleek and functional. The layout was modern and stylish, with instruments that were easy to read, giving the driver all the information needed to enjoy the ride. The real standout feature of the Jetstar 1, though, was the smoothness of the ride. While many muscle cars of the era were designed with performance as the top priority, sometimes at the expense of comfort, the Jetstar 1 offered a rare balance between the two. The combination of the powerful engine, comfortable ride, and elegant design made it stand out as a car that could go head-to-head with the best in performance, but still let you enjoy the finer things in life. Oldsmobile also added a host of premium features to make the Jetstar 1 feel even more upscale. Power steering, power brakes, and air conditioning were offered as optional upgrades, making the car even more comfortable for long drives. These features might seem standard today, but in the 1960s, they were a luxury few cars could offer, without breaking the bank. Despite these incredible features, the Jetstar 1 was priced competitively. It wasn't as expensive as other luxury cars from GM's higher-end brands, yet it offered a similar level of comfort and performance. The pricing strategy was part of what made the Jetstar 1 so appealing, as it gave consumers the chance to own a car that felt expensive but didn't come with a hefty price tag. The combination of the Jetstar 1's performance, comfort, and elegance made it a car that was simply ahead of its time. It wasn't just a muscle car, it was a symbol of what could be achieved when a manufacturer dared to think differently. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed by the more famous models of the time, but those who had the chance to drive it knew they were experiencing something truly special. The 1960s was the golden age of muscle cars. It was a decade where American manufacturers were pushing the limits of performance, designing cars that were powerful, fast, and built for speed. But while names like the Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Camaro, and Pontiac GTO became legends of the muscle car era, the 1964 Oldsmobile Jetstar 1 quietly existed in the background. So, what made the Jetstar 1 different from the other muscle cars? To understand its place in the muscle car revolution, we need to look at the context of the era. Muscle cars in the 1960s were all about power, sheer, unadulterated speed that made heads turn. The Chevrolet Corvette was the epitome of performance, but cars like the GTO and the Mustang were focusing on offering more affordable options with impressive power. The Jetstar 1, however, offered something unique. While it could go toe-to-toe with the best of them in terms of performance, it wasn't just about raw power. It was about balance. Most muscle cars were loud, aggressive, and unapologetically in your face. But the Jetstar 1 took a more refined approach. It was built for drivers who wanted that same performance but with a level of elegance that wasn't found in most of the competition. The 394 cubic inch V8 engine, while incredibly powerful, wasn't just about speed. It was about giving the driver an experience. With its smooth acceleration and handling, the Jetstar 1 was a car that could be both exhilarating and comfortable. Unlike the GTO, which was designed with speed and aggression in mind, the Jetstar 1 combined speed with luxury, making it more versatile for the everyday driver. It was a muscle car, but it wasn't just a car for showing off. It was a car for enjoying the drive. The timing of the Jetstar 1's release in 1964 was also important. The muscle car market was exploding, with every manufacturer trying to get a piece of the action. The Mustang had taken the world by storm in 1964, and the GTO was quickly gaining a following with its own bold design and performance. But in all of this excitement, the Jetstar 1 found itself in a difficult spot. It wasn't part of the flashier new breed of muscle cars. It was a car designed to appeal to a different kind of consumer, the one who wanted a combination of power, style, and comfort. In a way, the Jetstar 1 was a precursor to the more refined muscle cars that would come later. It wasn't trying to compete directly with the GTO or the Mustang. It was offering a different vision of what a muscle car could be. It wasn't about screaming down the road with the loudest engine. It was about enjoying the ride and feeling in control. While its competitors were often too loud and flashy, the Jetstar 1 kept things understated, making it feel almost like an exclusive club for drivers who appreciated the finer things in life without being flashy about it. But despite these impressive qualities, the Jetstar 1 didn't quite capture the public's imagination the way other muscle cars did. Perhaps it was too ahead of its time. The market was hungry for the brash, bold, and boisterous designs of the era, and the Jetstar 1 was too subtle for that. It wasn't the loud, attention-grabbing muscle car that was dominating the streets. It was the one that could quietly outperform many of its competitors, while remaining sophisticated.